You hear it everywhere, right? AI is on the verge of changing everything. But what if I told you that the entire foundation of today's AI, from generative AI to the biggest models out there, is built on a massive, predictable flaw? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on why current AI is basically designed to fail and explore a completely different way of thinking about how we create the future. Okay, let's just start with something that should really make you stop and think. This quote right here, this isn't some human critic talking. This is an AI, Grok AI to be specific. It analyzed the work of Dr. Yogesh Malhotra and pretty much admitted that his human-designed framework is decades ahead of its own technology. I mean, wow. That right there is our first major clue that there's a much, much deeper story going on. And to really get why an AI would say something like that, you have to understand this central conflict. You can think of it as a tale of two AIs. On one side, you got backward AI. That's pretty much everything we're using today. These systems are absolute masters of the past. But on the other side, you have forward AI, a totally new way of thinking, designed not just to analyze what's already happened, but to actually help us create what comes next. So let's dig into the problem first. Why is it that today's AI, with all the incredible hype surrounding it, is fundamentally broken? Why is it predictably set up to fail right when we need it most? Think about today's AI like a perfect rearview mirror in your car. It can tell you every single detail about the road you've just been on. But the second you hit a sharp, unexpected curve, a real moment of novelty, the kind of quantum uncertainty that actually defines our world, that rearview mirror is suddenly useless. It becomes brittle, fragile. It's absolutely brilliant at seeing correlations, but it is completely clueless when it comes to causation. Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. Dr. Malhotra developed this innovative method where he basically asked the world's top AIs to critique their own core algorithms. And the results? They're just stunning. A whopping 85% confirmed a fatal flaw called SGD oscillations. You can think of that like a car's cruise control that's just constantly overcorrecting, so you get this jerky, super inefficient ride. And 80% confirmed their ability to learn can just stop under pressure, a problem called vanishing gradients. They are literally, in their own words, confessing to their own predictable failures. Okay, so we've established that current AI has some serious issues, and it kind of knows it. But why? I mean, what's the real reason? To answer that, we have to dig a lot deeper, beyond just the code, and into the very nature of what intelligence actually is. You know, the root of this whole problem goes back 400 years to what the neuroscientist Antonio Damasio called Descartes' error. This is the old myth that our logical mind is somehow separate from our physical, messy body. Damasio proved this is just fundamentally wrong. Intelligence, he showed, is biological. Its number one job isn't writing poems or doing math. It's life management, the urgent moment-to-moment business of just keeping the organism alive. And our sense of self is built from the bottom up, kind of like a pyramid. At the very, very bottom, you've got the proto-self. That's the unconscious biological hum in your brainstem that's keeping your heart beating. Above that, you have the core self. That's the feeling of being right here, right now. And only at the very top of this pyramid do you get the autobiographical self, the complex story of you. The key thing here is that everything, even our most logical thoughts, is built on that primal biological foundation of survival. So what happens when you cut that biological connection? This quote about Damasio's patient, a man named Elliot, is just absolutely chilling. He had a brain injury that severed the connection between his logic centers and his emotional centers. His logic was still perfect, his IQ was sky high, but his life completely fell apart. Why? Because he couldn't assign value to anything. Choosing between two dates for a doctor's appointment could paralyze him for hours. Elliot essentially became what you could call a rational zombie. And this is the critical point, because that is exactly what we have built. Today's AI is a perfect digital copy of Elliot's brilliant, but completely broken, disembodied mind. It has all the logic, but none of the gut feeling. It has computation, but no way to assign the value that's needed for every single real-world decision. The Turing Award winner Judea Pearl, he just hit the nail on the head. He said data is profoundly dumb. And he's right. Data can show you all kinds of correlations, like, hey, ice cream sales and drownings go up at the same time. But data has no idea that a third thing, summer heat, is the actual cause of both. Without a framework to understand cause and effect, data is just meaningless noise. So if the problem is that we've built a disembodied, rational zombie, then what's the solution? How on earth do you engineer a gut feeling? How do you build a system that has that intuitive spark that comes from truly understanding cause and effect? Well, this is where we get to the real engineering breakthrough. Dr. Malhotra looked at Damasio's neuroscience not just as an interesting science fact, but as an actual engineering blueprint. And the result is something called QASNs, or Quantum Augmented Self-Adaptive Networks. Let's just break that down real quick. Quantum augmented means it uses principles from quantum computing to make these intuitive leaps. Self-adaptive means it can learn and evolve on the fly, just like a living thing. It's literally designed to thrive in uncertainty. So how does that actually work? Well, think of it like this. Classical AI is like a hiker who can only see the next step right in front of them. So they might climb to the top of the nearest small hill, which is a pretty good solution, but they'll totally miss the massive mountain right next to it. QASNs, on the other hand, using a principle called quantum annealing, are like that same hiker, but with a helicopter. They can see the entire landscape and just fly directly to the highest peak, the true best solution. It's basically an engineered intuitive leap. And this is so much more than just a technical upgrade. What we're talking about here is a complete shift in philosophy, a move away from just rehashing old data to actively helping us create the future. You know, Dr. Malhotra's work didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's really the culmination of decades of thinking. He's standing on the shoulders of giants like Morris Klein, who championed real-world intuition, and Judea Pearl, who gave us the mathematics to understand causation. Dr. Malhotra's really unique contribution is to pull these ideas together, grounding that intuition in biology and pushing causation forward into the future. And here's the crucial insight from all this. In a world that's defined by deep quantum uncertainty, making rigid long-term plans is basically a recipe for disaster. For decades, Dr. Malhotra's work has been all about building systems for a world where the most valuable skill you can have is the anticipation of surprise. It's about being agile. It's about being resilient, not just about being predictive. This leads us to this really radical extension of Judea Pearl's idea. Dr. Malhotra argues that, okay, if data is dumb, then the source of all real value, the knowledge, the causal understanding, the creative spark, it resides in you. It's not in some abstract model, it's in human intuition and our real lived experience. The machine is the tool, the human mind is the source of the magic. And listen, this is not some armchair philosophy. This is about walking the walk. These frameworks have been battle-tested for decades in the most high-stakes environments you can possibly imagine. Managing trillions with a T in value for Wall Street risk systems, guiding Pentagon command and control for the Air Force, making sure NASA missions succeed, and keeping global supply chains running. This is credibility that's been earned where failure is simply not an option. So where does all of this lead? Well, it leads to a pretty inspiring new vision for the future. One that's built on a totally new kind of partnership between us and our machines. This vision is called quantum minds, and it's not about AI replacing us. Not at all. It's about a powerful synergy. We provide the imagination, the ethical guideposts, the creative what-if scenarios that can only come from our lived experience. The AI then provides the unbelievable computational power to explore all those possible futures. It's human augmentation, not human replacement. I mean, Einstein really said it best, didn't he? Imagination is more important than knowledge. An AI can have all the knowledge in the world, every book ever written, every scientific paper, every single data point. But it's our imagination that gives that knowledge direction and purpose and meaning. So if you're going to boil all this down to one single thing you need to remember, it's this. The entire future of intelligence, both ours and the artificial kind, hinges on this one fundamental shift. We have to move away from that rearview mirror focus on correlation and toward a forward-looking partnership that's built on causation and human creativity. And that leaves us with this final, really powerful thought. As we step into this new, post-A quantum future, we start to realize the biggest challenge was never really about whether machines will think. It has always been about how we will think, how we will create, and how we will dream, right alongside them.